walking through a mansion as well. Like I can see there's like a mansion in the background and stuff, and he's like, you just got a song with Trippie Redd.
Today I'm talking with In Bloom, who's got placements with Trippie Redd, MGK, Ecstasy, Killswitch, and many others. In this video, he teaches us how he makes hits and breaks down his production on the song Struggles by Trippie Redd and MGK. All right, let's get it. Yo, what's up? I'm here with the bro In Bloom. How's it going, man?
Hey man, yeah, like really good. Super excited to be here and to be chatting.
Me too. So let's just start off. My first question for you, and I feel like I might know the answer, but how did you get your name?
It started off actually from like a holiday. I think it was like 2012 or something. Me and my partner went to London, and there's this area there called Covent Garden. It was like our favorite spot, and they had like this art installation where it was like this big flower archway, and in the background it had like a neon sign that said In Bloom. There was like a bench there where you could sit and like take your photo. I remember just thinking it looked really cool, and I remember taking the photo, and it wasn't until I came back home, it was around the time I was getting into like just starting beats, and I was trying to find a name. I remember scrolling through my pictures and just stumbling across that, and it kind of like suited what I wanted the aesthetic of my brand to be. And so yeah, that's literally where it came from. It was just that sign.
I was totally wrong. I thought it was Nirvana inspired. That's awesome. And what got you into making beats to begin with?
It all actually goes back to like this one moment. I remember when my brother came home and he had like bought his first CD ever, and it was like a Good Charlotte. And I remember him putting it on and hearing the anthem for the first time. And that song, it was like a light switch where like literally that moment I wanted to be in a band. And I remember like running around the room, like air drumming, like literally imagining being in a band. Yeah, from that moment on, I got a drum kit not long after that. And then all through primary school, all through high school, and even leaving high school, I played in bands with like my friends. It got to my mid-20s that I started to realize the band stuff wasn't going quite where I wanted to. I was like really struggling to make money from it. And then I remember just one night being on my laptop and seeing an interview between DJ Payne and this producer called Taylor King. He was talking about like the money that he was making from doing music, which also was kind of a foreign concept to me. And I started watching more videos from like BeatStars and Abe and stuff about the whole business model of selling beats online, and I just got like super interested by that. And so yeah, literally straight after that I just started producing. Yeah, that's how it all started.
And so when did you go full-time making music, and what did that feel like?
It took me like 2.5 years before I started doing it full-time. I remember I was posting like 3 to 4 beats a week, doing that, which was almost like full-time work, but then also doing full-time work for my dad. He owns a vineyard. It was such a grind for those first 2.5 years. I could see that there was just growth. Like, you know, one month was bigger than the next, and then the next month was slightly bigger than the other. And then, yeah, it wasn't till COVID in like 2020, things were like really building up at that point, to the point where I was like ready to quit with my dad. And then so 2021, I did go full time, and things did grow a lot faster once it did become full time as well.
What was your first big placement, and how did that come about?
The first big placement was probably with Ecstasy, and that was a beat that I did with the producers Immortal. It was one of the first beats we ever did together. It was one of those ones where the chemistry was really good because it was like us in the studio for one of the first times. Yeah, that beat was just kind of magic, and then it turned into like a really big song.
That's awesome, bro. Do you have a Desert Island plugin? Every time you open up your DAW, you're always using this thing? One
I do really love is Effects Rack by Soundtoys. I mean, I love it for just doing like processing for like effects, but I particularly love their distortions, like the Decapitator. And the other one I would say is like Valhalla, like the reverb. I chuck that reverb on basically everything.
And for guitars, are you doing DI and using like an amp sim, or are you miking up, you have your amps back there, are you miking your amps? Or
yeah, I used to use amp sims way more, but just recently I've got back into just like recording things naturally. Yeah, behind me I've got the Roland Jazz Chorus, but when it comes to sim stuff, it's usually Corey Wang,
the Neural DSP guy.
Yeah, that one. I also like bias effects, especially like there's like a inbuilt cloud thing where people can put like their effects that they've came up with, and it's a really fast way to get cool sounds.
And I mean, you're a very successful producer, especially not only in placements, but in the YouTube world and the online beat selling world. Do you have any sauce on selling beats, or, you know, for producers who are trying to get into selling beats on BeatStars and things like that?
I know for me, like something that's just become more and more like prominent, like relevant to me, is how much like sticking to your strengths, using that to find your niche. To begin with, I started trying to do what everyone else was doing. I saw like the hip hop space was really big, and like a lot of producers were having success in that. And so I tried doing that, which was different to the music I was used to making, but it was really hard to stand out and to sell beats. And then it wasn't till I came back to my roots of like indie rock music that I used to play in bands, playing guitar and putting live instruments into my music. I noticed immediately that it resonated way more with my audience. And like, if you don't have that yet, like you're only just starting out, I think it's like good to experiment with lots of things. And then maybe like if there's something you start to really enjoy doing, or realizing that you're better at one thing than another, I would like really lean into that.
Are there any, like, in terms of marketing or business sauce that you feel like is super important that really helped level up your beat selling business?
Actually, something that was really big was learning more about email marketing. That's something I feel like heaps of producers like super underutilize. BeatStars has got that function where, like, you know, people can download a free beat and be added to your email list. But something that's like really, really good to have in place is just automated sequences to your email list. But at least making like an automated sequence, so when someone signs up for a free beat, make them go through a sequence where maybe you get to know them more and like ask them questions and stuff about maybe their music. So then they start replying back to you. You build up some sort of rapport with them, and then you might even look at, like, you know, promoting your beats or selling something. But that's like an awesome way to build connection with your audience, but also monetize your audience.
Do you have any crazy placement stories of how things have come about, whether in the studio or, you know, any crazy DMs or anything like that?
Yeah, so the one with MGK and Trippie Redd, that song Struggles, that was kind of like a funny story how that all ended up happening. I co-produced it with my best friend Will. So we had stopped writing music for like 5-6 years, I think, and we had one catch up. We were like, we should just start writing music again together, and got into the studio, and just like that riff that made it to the beat, that was like the first thing that we played. That beat just happened really, really fast. Like, it just came together really quickly. I remember as soon as we finished it, we were like, this is really special. We ended up posting it on the channel, and it kind of just sat there for like a year. Yeah, it wasn't till like a while later I got a DM from Trippie Redd's A&R, and he was asking for like a beat pack, and I sent some through, and that beat that we wrote together happened to be one of the ones that made it in the pack. Then it was like fast forward like another year, me and Will were hanging out, and I got woken up that morning to a FaceTime from Live Touch, which is like the Trippie Redd's producer. He's walking through a mansion as well. Like, I can see there's like a mansion in the background and stuff, and he's like, you just got a song with Trippie Redd. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, he's like, it's going to be coming out in like a month or something. And then he also told me, he's like, oh, and by the way, MGK is recording a verse to it right now as well. That just came out of nowhere, like a placement with two massive artists that I'm like a huge fan of, both those guys as well. That beat that we wrote drunk together, we just like got a song with MGK and Trippie Redd.
That's awesome, bro. Well, can we break down the beat?
Yeah, most of the beat is made up from this guitar riff is like the main part, and I've recorded it twice left and right to make it stereo. Yeah, this is it. And that, for literally, it's like the simplest chain. It's just this plugin on that setting, the go-to clean. I have a few other electric guitar parts. So when we started recording it, we realized we wanted to kind of just keep building and building. So each section, we tried to introduce like one new part or something to make it feel like it grows. But during this pre-chorus section, we've got this with the main guitar. It's also layered with this other guitar. The bass note isn't moving around, and I love doing this with beats where the guitars just hold like that same chord, but then the bass is what dictates the chord progression. And yeah, Will recorded all the bass parts, I recorded all the guitar parts. And then the chorus part, I had this guitar lead, and it's kind of cool, like there's the main guitar riff, which I showed you before, and then this lead section, which kind of just, I don't know, they blend together. I'll play it by itself and then the two together. And that second guitar part is literally just this guitar part, but pitched up an octave. I've got this random textured sound. You can't really hear it, but it's just in there in the background. I think I used Arcade for this. Yeah, it just adds like a bit of ambience to it. There's this guitar pluck. It's like literally just holding a chord like straight down the line. It's super basic, but I love doing that for choruses just to build sections up. So yeah, it's really just like layering a few different textures up. Like there's not a lot of complexity to it, but just layering them up and it all sounds really full. For the drums, I just had this simple kick and snare. This was a snare I had recorded. The hi-hat was really cool. I recorded that live hi-hat over the top, like actually playing it. And often I like doing this because like when you make MIDI drums, I find like hi-hats are often the part that sound the most MIDI-ish. Yeah, actually playing a live hi-hat just makes it sound more natural. You just get like way more natural feel to it than rather trying to program it in. And yeah, maybe I'll just play that whole chorus section. So really the two main sections are that riff, which is played through the verses and the chorus. And then there's just this pre-chorus section, which is kind of more like a build-up. And the guitar is just like holding the same notes, but then the bass moves around. So yeah, like the beat is relatively simple. I think like the main thing was just making sure that it built up. So in each section, there's like something new. Like that final chorus, I introduced some other layers to it. Like there's like this bell. Yeah, it was just a matter of like making the song build up the whole way through, so it feels like kind of like a journey from start to finish and has more energy as it progresses.
Bro, it's so fire, man. Right on, bro. Well, thank you so much, man, again, for making the time today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for breaking the beat down. I'm really excited for all the stuff that you have to come, and we got to make some more beats together.
Yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate you having me on here and letting me get to talk about it.
Yeah, of course, bro. Well, have a good rest of your day, man. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, you too.